Today's topic is homesteading while working a full-time job, what that looks like, and the realities of that type of homesteading. Both Jessica and I work full-time jobs and we homestead on the side, which I believe is the only practical way to actually do it. There's very little to no money to be made in homesteading. Homesteading is a hobby, it's definitely not a business. The business of homesteading is, of course, farming. But when you do it as a hobby, all it does is sink your money. But what does it look like? What is the reality of homesteading while you're working full time? You can make homesteading as complicated or as simple as you want, depending on the parts of homesteading you want to get involved in. If you want to get into animal husbandry, goats, sheep, it's a whole other level. It'll be more complicated than, of course, if you want to get into farming. If you want to just do crops, your life will be a lot easier, but I would argue less satisfying, because I find a lot of people, when they think about homesteading, they do think about having the backyard goats and sheep and chickens. I think it's one of the more rewarding points too, but it changes everything. It changes your life. It's no different than having any other type of pet. They just require non-stop maintenance, and that is the reality of homesteading. And I think it's important to talk about these things because people have really grand ideas of homesteading, and we do get a lot of people reaching out saying we are living their dream or they're living vicariously through us. Please, though, learn that if you're really thinking about doing this, the commitment is for the rest of your life. The animals will live for the rest of your life, probably. You'll have nonstop supply of animals coming in and out. So you have to be ready for that and ready for the labor that goes into it too. And the reality is, it looks like a lot of different things. It looks like going to the feed store on your Saturdays. It means not going on vacations because you have animals. It means your gardens have too many weeds in them. It means you have bought plants that you haven't dug holes for. It means all these things, a lot of half-done jobs that you plan to get around to when you get the free time. Now, unfortunately, we all know what working full-time is like and what it's like when you try to slam hobbies in on top of that. Unfortunately, hobby farming or homesteading is also a full-time job. So it is pretty much going to eat all your full time, to the point where when you do have actual time that you're not homesteading or working full time, you're tired. So, but what does that look like? Well, today I had to go to the feed store. That ate up my Saturday morning. The feed still has to be put into a garage, into containers. The animals have to be fed. And then I can start thinking about new projects like land clearing, fence building, even just moving fences or picking up fence materials from the store, all require a lot of time. And when you only have a weekend and limited hours on that weekend to do anything, it all doesn't get done. So it's prioritizing. And I believe there is no other way to do it, because I think when you homestead, you do have to work full time because it's the only way you're going to afford it. As I said before, homesteading is simply a money sink, and you actually need to work because you're not going to make any money from homesteading. It's possible you might see some savings from homesteading if you grow your own food, things like that. Chicken eggs, you grow your own meat. But the reality of that is you probably had to work full time to get the startup costs for that. So either way, there was too much work happening at some point to make this a reality. And with two full-time jobs, which is what we have at this homestead, the money is definitely not flowing in. So when it comes to homesteading, before you start, you have to make sure that you enjoy this, and this is what you want to do as a pastime. You want to build fences, you want to clean up after animals. A lot of people think animals are their passion, and animals are our passion too. But there's more to it than that. This really has to be your passion because it is going to be your entire life. There's no way around that. And unless you can hire a helper or get volunteers, and if you're going to hire somebody, you're definitely going to be working more hours because you need to pay their income. So You gotta love it because it's going to be your whole life. This is Saturday. Saturday is animal feed. Saturday is going to be building some fences. It's going to be weeding a garden. It's going to be weeding some trees because the reality is the spots where we came, the trees weren't in a perfect spot. I'm going to flip the camera around now and show you just a few of the projects I'm working on today. But Saturday's one of 2 days off, so there's not a lot. But anyway, I'm going to show you a few of the projects to give you an idea of what a Saturday looks like when you're a full-time homesteader. And by that I mean a homesteader with a full-time job. So here's an example of just one little project. And this is just a fun little project in that a tree line is being built up here. And the reason is that just as a privacy, hedge, which almost everybody wants, we did this we had this grand idea that we would pull up evergreen trees and replant them here, which is what we've done. It is very time consuming. First off, you need to find the evergreen trees, which are usually pretty far away on the property. Then you need to bring them out here. You need to prepare the land. You need to dig the hole, you need to mulch, and then you need to water them daily for a period of time after transplanting. And that's really time consuming. You need to control the weeds. And as you can see, one of these trees, this one here, he didn't make it. Most of them are doing really good. But it is, you can see there are a lot of gaps here. It's just, this was not a priority, of course. The trees don't need us every day. So this one just got neglected a little bit. Another example is the firewood for the new year. So firewood has to be cut down, or it has to be gathered. It has to be brought, split, stacked. Here's a pile of firewood. Now we've just gotten into fall, and this wood needs to be ready to go, and it's not. It's just one of those things that just keeps getting pushed off because the animals always take priority. And it's the reality of homesteading is you are going to see nonstop half-finished jobs. And I'd love to say that most of my jobs are half-finished. Most of my jobs didn't even get that far. They're quarter-finished. It's trying to do too much in too short period of time. Not complaining, it all gets done. We always have wood for the winter, but it means that, there's other things you can't do. And I touched on that a little bit already. Don't expect that you're going to be going on grand vacations. And the beautiful projects that you started like this, we started flower beds. They need weeding. They provided us beautiful flowers, and now they require more attention. And it's just ongoing, and everything with homesteading's ongoing. Of course, the biggest thing about homesteading is still the fencing. Building fences, buying fencing material, and getting them up has been the most costly, time-consuming project we've done. And we're only just touching on, I'd say we're probably half done getting the property fenced, and then it's ongoing nonstop maintenance. Fencing is the untalked about nightmare of homesteading. When animals are concerned. If you plan to just have a garden with, vegetables and whatnot, you're probably still going to have to deal with fencing because you don't want something to come in and eat your crops, but you wouldn't have to have the same type of fencing that we have to have. So, it gets a little easier. So this is what Saturday looks like. Saturday looks like buying a really fun snow toboggan and using it for manual labor, because this wasn't bought to have any enjoyment. It was bought to save us from destroying our backs, moving these piles from the truck to the animals, which are all the way back there. And it's just one more of those things where it's like, okay, we had the animals up front. We wanted to move them back for noise and a lot of other reasons. So we moved them back in this beautiful spot where they are now. And now that added to the labor of the maintenance of them. So to feed them and to water them all became more work. So you solve one problem and make God knows how many more. And that's just all part of the fun. And I'm not complaining saying it's all miserable, but this is Saturday. So, what are you doing on your Saturday on a summer day? Are you at the beach? we haven't seen the beach. There's one 6 minutes up the road, and it might be one of the most beautiful beaches in Nova Scotia. It's Dollar Lake. And I can't remember when we last went there. Years.
4.
4 years ago. When do you have time?
We've lived here for 4.5 years.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? So this is the reality of what it's like. So like I said, this isn't a video just saying, this sucks or to be a downer. But, for those who say, oh, you're living my dream, make sure this is your dream. Is this, each of these bags is 25 kilos? Yep. So it's 150 pounds that I'm about to drag 2 kilometers up a hill. And that's it. Oh, I could get a 4-wheeler, sure, for $10,000. I could get a 4-wheeler. And you better believe that 4-wheeler's not going to start half the time. I need to do more videos of all the machinery we have that will not start. Don't even get me started on gas. If it has gas, it's a piece of crap. And I need to say that in all my videos. Battery's the way to go, and I don't even care anymore. Like, there were times when I was like, batteries have its part, but gas has their part too. Nope, gas has no part. Get rid of it. Go battery. Everything gas sucks. It just sucks. So anyway, manual labor's the way to go. And there's no real easy way around it.
Without costing a ton of money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all balance. It's all balance, right? You can spend more money up front and get a farm that's more established, or you can try to save a little bit like we did, get some land and clear. And there's a lot of fun to be had. It is fun to kind of clear and start from scratch. But once again, this is about homesteading while working a full-time job. So all that clearing happens on the weekends, happens on holidays, it means no vacations, right? So you have to make sure this is your passion before you start, because this is your life. So it better be your passion, because money is not going to keep you going. It takes your money. It doesn't give you any, right? There's been no money. You can try to do clever things. There's crafting and that. It'll never outpace your debt, though, what it costs, But there are ways to recoup a little bit of debt. Now, on that note, I'm just gonna swing around here. What do you think about homesteading with a full-time job?
Now we're in like a month, because my opinions are gonna vary.
We'll go with now. Let's go with how it's been. You've been in a fortunate position, but that's not to say that it was any less work. It was just you were in the absolute best possible position for doing this type of thing. But it was still all your time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is a passion, which it has to be, but all of my free time, all of it is this.
Yeah.
Because we did decide to, there is 2 ways you can do things. So you can have that dream now, or you can build to the dream. And to do the now, it costs money. Usually you're going to have loans, and that means debt. And so then when you have debt, when things go wrong, it's so wrong, and it's so depressing and so stressful. And we didn't want to do that.
Right.
Because we also work full time. So we kind of did it this way. So sometimes, it doesn't look beautiful, yes.
Right.
Because we're doing it to try to save a little bit of money so that we can put the money where, towards things that we want versus having that debt. So it's been amazing.
Good.
It is something else to be able to like take a work break or a lunch break and just go pet a cow.
Right.
Or, one of my favorite things about, I guess, working from home and doing this was because there was no transport time, travel time.
Yeah.
There was no travel time, so I didn't lose the 2 hours a day just going to and from work to the office. So basically, when my day ended for my office job, I could go out and, if you have a really bad day, and, sometimes there's stressful days at work or just at life, there's nothing more relaxing than just going out and listening to, your goats and sheep just graze.
Hmm.
And so that's been amazing.
Or watching your corn grow.
Or
That was
just
fun too. Yeah.
so many things.
Yeah.
It's a different life for sure. It's been life changing
Hmm.
for sure. And then in less than a month, I am going back to the office. I'm very depressed about that.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, but and it's not so much the fact of like, just going to the office. It's the fact that I'll be going to the office in wintertime, so I'll be leaving in dark, I'll be coming home in dark, and it just, not just the no sun, but it's like I'm going to be seeing everyone with a flashlight.
Yeah.
And it just kind of makes, and then, those times it gets harder too. So when you're balancing the full-time job in wintertime, it's hard, because in the mornings you have to go out. Water could be frozen. You have to take water up. We don't have water where the animals are, so comes from the house. And when we can't use the hose, I fill up 5-gallon buckets in the bathtub and put it on a toboggan, and I drag it up that way. So those things, and then there's snow.
Yep.
And bad weather, dark.
Snowstorms. Yep.
Compounds those things.
Hurricanes.
When you have to go out and check the fences.
Yep.
And things like that. So in the wintertime, it is a little harder, I find. Just overall, everything in life, I guess, is harder in the wintertime. But, it's
But that
less
work-life
enjoyable.
balance is much worse in the winter. Like you
Yeah.
said, dark all the time. Transportation is slower.
Yeah.
And there's more disasters that can affect the homestead, like snowstorms and hurricanes or blizzards,
Yeah,
which both could affect the animals.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so this year, it was nice that I was working from home, but Thursdays I still had to take a vacation day, even though I was working from home, because we had a lot of snow just dumped all at once, and it was over 4 feet, and my fences are 4 feet. So luckily, goats don't like to be wet or, blaze their own path in life. They like to take the path of least resistance. So they were contained, but had they just not wanted to be, like, our dogs, unfortunately, at that time had to be, like, tied or locked, because they could just walk out.
Yeah.
Because it was over the fences. And, those things I noticed because I was working from home, I guess, more, and there were storms. So in the wintertime, it's going to be a little harder, like, because those things still have to be done, even though, it's dark.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it, And as we go, we do things a little slower than maybe some other people might do.
Yep.
It took us 4 years to get to, I think we have 12 goats.
Yeah.
It took us 4 years. We typically don't do more than 3 animals a year, adding to our thing. So like this year was China, Russia, and the cow. So I don't anticipate any other additions this year, because we do things slow to see how they work out and what problems they'll create. With the cow's gonna drink. I'd have to look back, and maybe Dino put it like a little blurb here. They drink 10, 15 gallons of water a day.
Yeah.
In the wintertime. So that's just for her.
Yeah.
As a full-grown cow, she's going to eat probably over 50 pounds of hay, so that's, a hay bale and a half, because our hay here in Nova Scotia tends to not reach the 50 pounds for square bales. And then, her feed alone is going to be, several pounds. So that's just for her. So she's actually increased our workload. So it's, we balance that by, not getting a bunch of other things at the same time. So we have some new buildings. We have some new fencing structures.
Oh yeah, I talked about all that.
Chainsawing, like,
Yeah, that too.
nobody's business. Burning because our wood chipper doesn't work, because our gen doesn't work, because it's gas.
Yep.
So it can be tricky. It's a lot of balancing when you're doing a full-time job and trying to do this, because this will never pay for life.
No.
And we don't do it for that. Thank God, because that would be depressing. But you know, you're kind of doing it almost for the lifestyle.
Right.
Sometimes there's things you can do, like Dean said, that can bring you in some money. So we sell goat milk soap, and sometimes we sell our kids as well.
Animals.
Well, goat babies are kids.
Yeah,
so,
but not everybody might know that.
yeah. So
We
goat
don't sell our
babies are kids.
human children
I
yet.
would though.
Anyway,
So you
Yeah.
know, those things tend to go, but as a comparison, you know, that's a couple $100 maybe a year. Our soap last year did quite well. This year is not so well. Last year it covered probably 75% of our hay bale last year, which was amazing, like in the wintertime. This year it's not even denting, like it's just not even. And so you have to be prepared for that.
right.
You know, and you know, you can't just get a raise
Yeah.
at work. So, and we can't quit. We can't really take a ton of time off either, because we also need to, you know, stay within our allotted vacation time. So it's a lot of balancing, and sometimes you get employers that are pretty decent about like helping accommodate your personal life and whatnot. And sometimes not. So you just have to be prepared for some days that are going to be really hard,
Yeah.
and some days they're going to be fantastic.
Well, it's good. I'm glad you gave kind of a more positive opinion than I did. Like I said, I wasn't being negative or saying it was bad, but I do know I came off a lot more doomsday. But in conclusion, I just wanted to say, just make sure you come into this knowing that homesteading is not a business. There's no profit to be made. There might be some savings you can find to control your debt, but that's as far as it'll go. And what it looks like piles of stuff gathered everywhere, half-done projects, and plants that desperately need weeding. Yeah. That is what it looks like.
And you know, it's a Saturday. It would have been such a perfect day to sleep in.
Yeah.
I don't get to sleep in, so
No.
I've been on the go since 8.
Yeah.
So I've done some projects up top. I'm working on fencing and securing what the goats and sheep have ruined of the emu pen. We're doing this feed. The feed has to be put away. I have a tarp there of hay that has to be put away. We got free sawdust because you have to watch those deals. So there's big bags of those that just look like crap. They have to be taken up top, you know, 5-gallon bucket at a time, and it's the equivalent of a dump truck load. Yep. So that's what your Saturdays look like.
Exactly. No, and that's pretty much how I started. It's Saturdays, it's holidays. That's where
evenings.
Yep, that's your homesteading, and it's half-done projects, and it's things that look bad before they look better, until they look slightly less better again, until you get It's it. Long story short, enjoy it and make sure it's something you enjoy. Make sure these are hobbies you enjoy doing, because you're going to be doing a lot of them and you can't stop. You can't stop.
No.